Welcome in everyone to the Bastards of Boston Baseball, and we are in the midst of what has got to be the slowest offseason, at least in the history of this show, maybe in Red Sox history in general. As I believe it's still just the Red Sox and the Colorado Rockies who have yet to sign any free agents this winter. They are the only two MLB teams not to ink a free agent pitcher, position player, what have you. It's just you and the Rockies at this point. So that's where we're at. We're going to be talking some Alex Bregman and some Bo Bichette, some news dropping on those fronts last couple of days. And we might touch on the reliever market as well, because apparently the Red Sox don't think they need relievers. So that's nice for them. I'm your host, Jason Kelly. I'm here with Chris, Terry, and Doug. Guys, let's start right out with Alex Bregman. The news coming down today that the mystery team that all of a sudden became hot on him and is now hot on his tail was revealed. It is the Arizona Diamondbacks. So, pretty interesting. That's the team that's also looking to ship out Ketel Marte. Red Sox are said to be in on that, but have not made any headway in terms of an actual deal for Ketel Marte, which shouldn't be surprising at this point. So, Chris, I'll start with you. Your thoughts on the Diamondbacks all of a sudden kind of throwing their hat in the race here for Alex Bregman?
I mean, it's not shocking. I wouldn't be completely surprised if it was Boris just trying to drive up the asking price from a team like the Red Sox, who seem like they might do something in panic if they're going to actually sign Bregman. Because I don't think we're going to sign Bregman unless it's a complete panic move at this point. It seems like they're miles apart on what the ask is. To be honest, I don't want him back. So I really don't know what to think of it. I thought it was interesting that the fact that they were basically saying last night that they would have to ship out Ketel Marte to be able to afford Alex Bregman. And if he's looking for 5 years, $170 million, it doesn't shock me why they would need to get rid of Ketel Marte. But I want nothing to do with Alex Bregman. Would love Ketel Marte, but we'd probably end up with the other one.
So my initial reaction to that is please let the Diamondbacks sign Alex Bregman, because I don't want him. I think it's not going to age well almost immediately. But I'm skeptical. Like, if you're trying to ship out Marte but bring in Bregman, what's the appeal? I mean, Marte has had some off the field issues, especially last season. Probably more last season than any other season. But that bat plays in a big way. And I mean, he's relatively healthy. How do you feel good about an Alex Bregman type guy over Marte? Marte is extremely productive at age 32. What's Alex Bregman going to be? So it doesn't make sense to me. And I mean, if you're Breslow, you're extremely actively trying to get Marte, and now they're interested in Bregman. Like, how do you interpret that? If you're Breslow, I'd be like, why are you trying to get rid of the good hitter that plays a position that you haven't been able to? Like, there are no elite second basemen in Major League Baseball outside of probably Marte. There might be one more. I mean, Altuve isn't. I don't know if he's playing second base anymore, but it's a position where if you have a premium bat, how do you give that guy up? Who has, and we just found this out. I shared it in the war room. His cap hit, Ketel Marte's, is only $14.8 million. That's extremely team friendly. And the reason why it's so low is because there's a lot of deferred money. So how do you justify spending, let's just say Bregman's going to get 5 years, 30 million per, exactly about what Schwarber and Alonso got, even though he's nowhere near going to affect a team offensively like those two will, which is why this is all nuts to begin with. But why do you get rid of a good contract that's actually productive for another contract with a million red flags. I'm not buying it for Arizona. I don't believe Bregman has a market right now. And I just hope the Red Sox aren't the stupid ones that go in on it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Terry. I mean, I think anyone would take Marte right now over Bregman, and if they sign Bregman, that really forces their hand to trade Marte. So I would love to see it. And he isn't he from Arizona, right?
He
He's an
is.
Arizona kid, so maybe he's just putting that out there, kind of hoping something happens. Maybe he wants to go there, but I don't see much of a market out there for him right now, especially at that number that is floating out there. I would much rather see us trade for Marte and just have to fill that third baseman spot with Mayer at this point. But if that's the options, I would take that option. Um, but yeah, Marte fills exactly what we need. Like Alonso filled exactly what we needed, and we missed on him. Marte fills exactly what we need. Second baseman hits around 300, give you 25 to 30 home runs. That's a player that anyone in the league should have and that should want. And we, there's still a chance to have a decent offseason. And it starts with getting Marte.
Yeah, I agree with Doug, especially that last point. Like, the offseason's not over. Yeah, they've sucked so far. Like, Brezzo's swing and misses
Yeah.
have been really bad, but he still has a chance to salvage it and make it a pretty decent offseason. It starts with Ketel Marte. He is a perfect fit for this ball club. You have an opening at second base. You don't have a true second baseman on your roster to begin with. It's not like you have to supplant someone if you bring in Marte. Like, you got nobody there. So he makes perfect sense in that regard. Arizona clearly wants to get rid of him. Now, does that raise some red flags? Of course it does. But at the end of the day, if he's just a guy who needs a change of scenery and you bring him to Boston and, you put him under Alex Cora and, he gets to play in a big market and not, out in the desert where no one cares, then maybe that changes things. Maybe it motivates him and, you get a really good player out of it. As far as Bregman, I think it's all smoke and mirrors from Arizona. I think they're just trying to drive up the price for Marte. They know that the Red Sox are at this point probably getting desperate. So they say, okay, let's throw our hat in the ring. They may not even be serious about signing him. They may be hoping, hey, you're kind of local to this area. Maybe you'll take, a little bit of a hometown discount if we say that we're interested in you. But at the end of the day, I don't think Arizona thinks they're actually going to get him. I mean, look what they did at the trade deadline. They blew it up. They blew it up. They trade off all their pieces, and now they're gonna let Zach Gallen walk. And like that's probably a smart move on their part because I don't think that guy is gonna age very well. But at the end of the day, they're hitting the reset button. So why bring in an aging Alex Bregman who has a bum leg and is probably going to be, not worthy of playing third base by the time he's 33, 34, especially on a long-term deal, which is what he wants. So I think it's a lot of posturing from Arizona. I think they are trying to drive up the price on Marte and trying to drive up Bregman's market just to kind of goose the Red Sox a little bit. I'm with Terry. Like, I hope Arizona actually does sign him. All that being said, like, I hope someone is stupid enough just to give him that 6 or 7 year deal, and that way we can just, stop worrying about it. Because at this point, I'm perfectly comfortable with a tandem of Marcelo Meyer and Romy Gonzalez being your opening day third base position. Because we all know Cora won't let Meyer hit lefties, so it's going to be a platoon. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that over Bregman getting some stupid 6-year deal here where he's making too much money. The guy can't run anyway, and he's going to probably tear his quad again running 2 miles an hour down the first baseline. Like, I'm good. I'm all set. The whole leadership thing, I think, is so overblown. I've talked about this before. Like, Roman Anthony is going to surpass Alex Bregman in talent pretty soon. He's not going to need to listen to a guy like Alex Bregman who can barely stay on the field. And I'm sorry, I still hold what Bregman did midway through last season against him, where in the middle of a wild card chase, he has him and his agent leak out that, yeah, we're opting out at the end of the season, which we all kind of knew. Like, it wasn't, a huge surprise, but why release that then? When your team's not out of it, you're a key part of what they want to do in the second half. And, Bregman sucked ever since he got back from the injury, and then he leaks out, oh, yeah, and I'm opting out of my contract too. That really rubbed me the wrong way. That's not what a leader does. So, to me, fine. Let him go somewhere else. Let someone else pay him. Let him be someone else's headache. I'm fine with, again, Meyer, Romy, whoever you want to put at third base, and pivot at that point. Pivot to Ketel Marte. As we put in our title here, maybe pivot to Bo Bichette, because he's now starting to tell teams, I'll play second base. No problem. You don't want me at shortstop? I'll get it. I'll play second base. And you know what? He could probably do it pretty well. So I'm totally fine with that at this point.
If July 1st gets here and Alex Bregman only has 6 home runs and he's hitting 260 with a 320 on base, let's say, if I just signed him to a 5-year deal, I'm hitting the panic button, because it's a continuation of last year at that point, and he doesn't have it anymore. And then you have a guy like Bo Bichette, who had not the best year of his career, but a pretty damn good one last year. He hit 300 and on base of 357, only hit 18 home runs. He did miss, 23 games, but 18 home runs, 94 runs batted in. He's led Major League Baseball twice in hits, 191 hits in 2021. The very next year, he hit 189. This is a productive guy. He's got a career OPS of 806, but he is coming off of a season where it was 840. He could be trending upwards in some categories. He's only 28 years old, I think, or turning 28 rather. Let me just get that right. Yeah, so he turns in spring training, he will turn 28 years old. A 7-year deal takes him to age 35. There's no contract that I'm probably going to hate that's going to end in a player's age 35 season. I'm okay with that. If year 34 and 35 isn't super productive, but the rest of it was, I consider that to be a W. And I don't know why there's a debate here between which one is better. And you're going to have the Section 10 guys, the play testy guys. They're all going to have a meltdown that the Red Sox missed out on Alex Bregman. And it's just so dumb. Like, how badly do you want to sabotage yourself? That deal could be about as bad as the Dustin Pedroia deal was, when Dustin Pedroia signed an 8-year deal at age 31, which I thought was insanely reckless. Now, you can say it was only a $13 million a year AAV, but it was still painless. And 2017 was his last season, so that was his age 34 season. You didn't even get half of that contract in. You didn't get half the Sandoval contract in, Pablo Sandoval. If there's red flags, you need to stay away. And I think Bo Bichette could be a spark plug in this lineup and, kind of keep the line moving, hit him right in front of Roman Anthony or right behind him. And he's a righty bat. It's a no-brainer. Sign Bo Bichette.
Yeah, before I even touch on Bo Bichette, I mean, if we sign Alex Bregman, the more I think about it, it's going to make me that much more pissed off that we didn't get Pete Alonso, because the money that we're looking at, if it's even in the ballpark of 5 years, 170, and Pete got, 150, 155, somewhere in that ball? Yeah. I mean, the upside of Bregman, assuming he's healthy and is at his absolute peak, you're talking about 30 home runs, 100, maybe a little over 100 RBIs, 285, maybe right around 300 batting average, if we're all being honest. And that's only going to diminish as he gets older and God forbid he gets injured again. And the likelihood he gets injured again is high, because he's now suffered the same injury 2 times in the last 3 or 4 years, and it's been significant enough where he's missed quite a bit of time. Pete Alonso, I mean, he's good for 40, 50 home runs. Him diminishing is the top end of Bregman. They both, let's call it what it is. Bregman's probably at this point a little bit more reliable and better at playing third base than Pete Alonso would be at first base. But in a couple of years, you're going to have them both have to play DH, because Bregman his statistics defensively are going down. His metrics are going down. Pete's never been a great first baseman defensively. But if I got to go to bat with one of them as a right-handed hitter and I need power, it's not even a question of I'd rather have. And I could have had Pete cheaper. So signing Bregman would just piss me off that much more. And to a question you had before, Terry, as far as like Ketel Marte and it scaring you. Here's why it shouldn't scare you and why it doesn't scare me. I've got a name for you. Rafael Devers. Because guess what? Rafael Devers was pegged as the guy who was a clubhouse cancer, right? And we chose Alex Bregman as an organization over him. So the fact that the Diamondbacks want to do the same thing and are looking to throw away Ketel Marte, I bet all four of us would sign up for Rafael Devers over Alex Bregman at this point. And I'm the first one to admit it. At the time, I was not dead set against getting Rafael Devers. You know, I assumed we would re-sign Alex Bregman, didn't know he would get hurt, and also thought the team was going to go in a completely different direction and was going to spend the money they were saving on the Rafael Devers contract. I was wrong. But obviously, if I can go back, I would rather have Devers. And that's also why it doesn't scare me to get Ketel Marte, because if they want to do the same thing that we just made the same mistake doing, is go to Alex Bregman and put all your eggs in that basket and throw away a sure thing, congratulations, please do it. And then give me Ketel Marte. Thank you. Because I wish we can get Rafael Devers back from the Giants. But that's not going to happen. And then as far as Bo Bichette, the fact that he's projected to get 5 years, $150 million is absolutely asinine. We would even be considering Alex Bregman at this point. You can get him for what the projection is $20 million less. He's 4 years younger, has not had nearly the substantial amount of injuries and missed time that Alex Bregman has in the last 3 to 4 years. And I mean, let's face it, the guy went to the playoffs maybe 2 times in his career. I think he's played 11 games. I mean, his World Series performance was epic. Yeah, I know he only had 1 home run, but that home run could have won the World Series. And the guy batted over 300 and was an on-base machine. So he's young, he's athletic. Is he the best shortstop? No. He's a hell of a lot better than Trevor Story, if we're all being honest with ourselves. So you could put him at shortstop and move Trevor over to second base. And if not, just put him at second base. He's better than the no one that we have, like we just said, because we don't have a natural second baseman. We put our eggs in the Campbell basket, and we all saw what that got us, because the guy can't play second reliably. So to me, I don't even know why. I don't know why Bo Bichette's even on the market. Thank God he still is, because he gives a team like the Red Sox a shot. But with the way that we drag our feet, I mean, the fact that, I mean, Jason said it, we're one of 2 teams that have not made a signing in the offseason, which I thought it was just the Red Sox. But it makes me even sadder to know that the only company we have is the historically bad freaking Colorado Rockies. So depression just got worse.
Yeah, but Bo Bichette needs to be priority number 1 right now. Like, I mean, I was saying I would rather Marte over Bregman, but I would rather Bo Bichette over both of them at this point. It's just with the age, like you were saying, Terry, it's just the perfect deal right now. He gives us everything that we need. He's proven that he can step up in a big spot, and he just seems like a type of player that would thrive in Boston. And he's a I think he would play second. I think we would probably keep Trevor at shortstop right now and have him start at second. But with any injuries now, he can slide right into short, and he can kind of move around the infield. And Bo needs to be the guy. Chris, you said you're surprised that he's like on the. I'm surprised that he's still on the market too, because 10 years ago he'd already be a Red Sox at this point. But it's different now, and they need to just finally make a move, finally sign someone, finally get some pen to paper, and Bo needs to be the guy that they do it to.
Yeah, 100%. I'm all in on the Bo Bichette train, and Red Sox have to move fast, because what happens if, what if the Blue Jays smarten up and go, you know what, why don't we just keep him? Like, we could go right back to the World Series next year if we just re-sign him. I mean, the Blue Jays have made it clear, like, they're willing to spend money, unlike the Red Sox. Like, they're kind of going for it. This is their moment. So what happens if they just smarten up or what if Bo Bichette goes back to them and says, hey, like, I'll take a little off the top for you guys. Like, I don't have to go for the max money. Like, I want to win. And I want to, go back to the World Series with Vladdy and, all those guys. Like, that could still happen. So, like, they need to stop dragging their feet. And as far as, like, him versus Ketel Marte, unfortunately, I feel like it's one or the other because neither guy can play third base. So it's not like if you trade for Marte and you sign Bichette, now you've got a logjam, and I don't know if one of them goes to DH, but then what do you do with Yoshida? Like, and I see a lot of people in the comments saying like Marte's got injury problems too. He'll probably be a DH in 2 years. Okay, well I'll worry about that in 2 years. Like by then Yoshida's gone anyway. So if he has to slide over to DH, that's fine. A switch hitting DH who can hit 30 home runs, fine by me. That's okay. Not every DH has to be David Ortiz or Pete Alonso. But yeah, I think if it's Marte versus Bichette, you got to pick one. You can't get them both. Again, neither guy can play third base. So in that scenario, I'd rather just sign Bo Bichette. You're not giving up prospects.
Yeah.
You're not having to make a trade with Mike Hazen, who would probably put Breslow over a barrel because he's just way more experienced and way better at the job. So you don't have to do that. You just, I don't know, spend a little money. But the Red Sox have shown they're not willing to do that. And this brings me to a tweet that dropped tonight that I think kind of tells the whole story. So this is from Matthew Crory, and he quoted, it was Jeff Passan who was on Baseball Tonight with Buster Olney, and he was talking about the Red Sox and why they missed out on Schwarber and Pete Alonso. And he said, they missed out because, quote, they weren't willing to go to the place that other teams were. And he went on further, he said, we've seen the Red Sox in recent years, they try to operate rationally. Operating rationally, generally speaking, will not get you free agents. It is an irrational market, and sometimes you got to get a little irrational. To me, that tells the whole story. This is what the problem is when you hire a guy like Craig Breslow who thinks he's the smartest guy in the room. And he's very rational. That's why he's very smart. But he looks at the Pete Alonso contract and goes, oh, that doesn't make a lot of sense to give that guy 5 years. And that's a little too much money. He looks at the Schwarber deal and he says, that really doesn't make sense because Schwarber's even older. And you gave him 5 years. That really doesn't make sense. Like, that's why he looks at a guy like Alex Bregman and says, nah, he's going to be too old. It's not a rational thing to be paying Alex Bregman 20, 25 million, when he's age 35. Okay, like, yeah, that's true. But again, it's baseball, it's sports. Like, it's not about being the smartest guy in the room. It's about being gutsy and going for it and, making a big splash, not just for the sake of making a big splash, but for genuinely improving your team. And it just feels like not only do we feel that Breslow's not willing to do it, but now the rest of the league is catching on. They're looking at how Breslow operates and they're saying, yeah, he's not gonna overextend. He's not gonna make the gutsy call. And this is the problem. And it's gonna be a problem with free agent negotiations because let's say you want to sign Bo Bichette. Bo Bichette's gonna sit down with the Red Sox and go, well, I want 7 years. Is that okay? And they're like, oh, hold on. No. We can't do that. What about 4? And he's just going to walk out of the room. He's like, no, okay. Atlanta's offering me 7. Toronto's offering me 8. Whatever. Like, that's how badly these negotiations can go if Breslow keeps doing this. So I thought that was frankly alarming to hear Jeff Passan talking about that because that tells you that the rest of the league is keyed in on Breslow is not willing to get gutsy and he's going to play it safe. And as long as we add like another year onto whatever the Red Sox offer, we can swipe any free agent from them. That's a pretty scary thought. Chris, what was your reaction to that whole thing?
I mean, it doesn't shock me because, I got into a bit of a Twitter argument on Friday night with a bunch of dweebs, Daniel Fox being one of them and the rest of the Bresbean crew on Twitter. And, and then my point was in the response that I had to a tweet is that the purpose of free agency is to overpay. It's like, oh, that's not the purpose of free agency. Yes, it is. A player wants to go there and make the max amount of money that they can make. And if they're good at their position and timing, and there's other factors, right? Injury history. If all those things align, they're going to get paid more than they are worth. That's just a fact. As good as Soto is, he's not worth $785 million. As good as Shohei Ohtani is, none of us thought he was worth $700 million at the time. It's the purpose of free agency is you get paid, right? And then what's the alternative? Because all I heard is, oh, well, there's other ways to do it. Okay, let's go the trade market route. Isn't the purpose of a trade, if you're on the receiving end, you want to receive more for your player that you're shipping out. So even then, you're quote unquote overpaying, whether it's prospects or if it's players on your team, cash, whatever, deferred money, etc. So no matter which way you go, the purpose is to overpay for a set asset, whether it's money, prospects, etc. And the fact that the Red Sox are being speculated that they're not willing to go there is not a shock, because when we're the one giving away the asset, we usually get robbed. We send away Rafael Devers. We don't want any of the things that we've gotten back from Rafael Devers. We're already looking at, well, how can we get rid of this contract? How do we do this? We look at Yoshida, overpaid him, looking to get rid of him. You look at the Mookie Betts trade. Now, granted, we got nothing back, but we also had to ship a bad contract out. So no matter what, there's give and take to all of these deals. Unfortunately, when the Red Sox are giving, they get taken advantage of. And when they try to get, they don't know how to get because they won't spend, and they don't necessarily have the assets, with the exception of the Crochet deal, which they're already trying to get back, the biggest fixture of that package, back.
The writer, Matt Crory, says, some deals are irrational and the Red Sox might need to get irrational. And my question is, what's irrational about a 5-year deal, $150 million for a guy who's probably going to be your first 40 home run hitter in quite a while? What's irrational about that? And you look at the Orioles that went to the playoffs 2 years in a row. I think they won 100 or so games one of those seasons. I think they were the 1 seed, and they got bounced right away. Maybe Pete Alonso is going to be the difference maker this time. Maybe he's the guy that powers them into the next round and potentially well beyond. I mean, we saw the Mariners do it. Got 1 game from the World Series. Finally had that epic run that the people of Seattle were starving for. And I think the people of Boston are starving as well. And to kind of work off of the Devers thing here real quick, I tweeted last night, Theo Epstein was 29 years old when he signed Big Papi. And nobody could have known we were getting, an iconic Mount Rushmore type Red Sox player at that time. But he was a brilliant GM at 29 years old. What the hell is Craig Breslow at 45 years old? He traded Rafi Devers at age 44. And, Devers, I know last winter was ugly, and the first 8 weeks of the season until he got traded were kind of wonky. But, man, that was the Big Papi of this era. That was the guy who could handle the moment. And we shipped him away for nothing. And now we're looking for that bat. We were hoping Pete Alonso would be that bat. And that contract was going to be so inconsequential. There was going to be zero regret. Pete Alonso has played 155 or more games since the end of the pandemic. He's a reliable guy that's going to post up every game. And you passed on him. And Kyle Schwarber's what? Age 33 right now? 34, something like that. Alonso would only have 2 years remaining at that point of his career on a 5-year deal. I'm just at a loss for words. Nothing about this winter makes sense. What's today's date? The 17th?
Yeah.
December 17th, and we haven't spent a single dime on a free agent, like Jason said in the open. And this is a make or break season for Craig Breslow. If he botches this, he's history, I think, at the end of the year. And I think arguably it's his worst performance yet. He's not getting smarter. He's getting worse. You talk about Alex Bregman regressing as a player. I think Craig Breslow's regressing as an executive.
Yeah, it's like he thinks he's too smart for his own good or something. Like he thinks he's the smartest guy and trying to be all rational and make all these deals and but it's not how you should it's not how you should operate. Nothing about the Red Sox history that have built the teams that we have was rational when it came to signing players. When it came to signing Kyle Crawford, and we were just going out and signing the best guys because that's what we should be doing as the Boston Red Sox. And Breslow is just he's never gonna get the better end of anyone in a trade. He's never gonna and it just doesn't seem like he's got what it takes to take a risk. Like he's too smart for his own good to even just take a risk on someone. And it's just December 17th, no, not a cent used it's criminal at this point. And it's just a matter of time till Bo's gone, until Marte's gone, and there's nothing left.
It would be one thing if Breslow was like an absolute wizard in the trade market. Because then you could sit there and say, okay, they haven't signed a free agent yet, but if they made a couple of really clever trades, and you're not totally depleting your farm system, and, we look at the return, we go, all right, the team is better. They don't want to spend in free agency. They would rather take on, guys who are already signed or whatever, guys who are on rookie deals, low money deals. Fine, okay. But he's not even good at that. He's not even good in the trade market. Like this Oviedo trade, okay, we'll see how many starts this guy actually makes for you this coming season. What if he starts 15 games and he blows? And then you gotta, DFA him in the middle of the year. I mean, and, I don't know what Yostinson Garcia is going to turn into, but what if he's a productive player out there? What if he's just not like, rookie of the year lighting the world on fire, but what if he's hitting like 275 with power out in Pittsburgh, and we still got Yoshida at DH hitting weak ground balls to second base, and Johan Oviedo has an ERA over 6. Like, that could very likely happen. So we don't know about that trade. Someone in the chat, brought it up, and people want to forget about it. The Quinn Priester trade. What a disaster that was. That guy was a great pitcher for the Brewers throughout the course of the season. And look, maybe it's because he's pitching in the NL Central. It's a weaker division, but whatever. The guy is a young 23, 24-year-old who has good stuff. And Breslow is like, yeah, but I want that 18-year-old outfielder who may not be ready for the majors for another 5 years. Just that one completely backfired on him. And it's funny because I see Red Sox fans on Twitter again, the Breslow crowd, okay, here's what Craig should do. If I'm Craig, I'm talking to the Oakland Athletics about Brent Rooker. I'm trading for Brent Rooker. It's he's not going to do that. He's just not. And the Athletics will probably see him coming and go, no, go screw. We're not trading you Brent Rooker. He can't operate the trade market properly. And now we're seeing that he's too scared to operate in the free agent market. So, Craig, what exactly, to quote the line from Office Space, what would you say you do here? Because we got a team to build. We have a second base position that needs to be filled. We have a third base position that needs to be filled. We have a bullpen that needs to be filled. Because I don't know if anyone's noticed, but the reliever market is red hot right now. And a lot of the names that you may have wanted, 2 weeks ago are gone. Red Sox didn't get any of them. Your bullpen right now is Chapman, Whitlock, Slayton, and Zach Kelly. And, a couple of these other bums they picked up. That bum from Oakland whose name I never heard of, Ryan Watson or whatever. Those guys aren't going to do anything for you. There were free agent relievers out there you could have signed. That, you can start with something small. Baby steps, Craig. Just go sign a reliever to a 1-year, $4 million deal. It's literally a painless contract. And he just doesn't want to do it. So, at this point, I'm struggling to think, what is the strategy here? What is the plan? And it just feels like there really isn't one. It just feels like the plan is we're hoping that Alex Bregman comes crawling back to us. I saw a tweet early in the offseason that, yeah, the Red Sox are engaged on Bregman, but they're willing to wait out his market. Okay, have fun waiting. What if he signs with Arizona tomorrow on a 6-year deal? What are you going to do then? It just feels like they're just hoping that the free agents come to them, and they're not willing to be aggressive and go out there and say, no, we want to compete this year in the AL East, because right now, I mean, MLB Network had the projections up today, like they project the Red Sox to finish dead last. And honestly, I don't blame them. Every other team in your division is actively getting better, and you're just standing still. Not only standing still, you're getting worse because you're just letting guys go and you're not replacing them. So, look, I get it. It's December 17th. People keep telling us it's early, it's early, it's early. Pretty soon, it's not going to be early anymore. Christmas is next week. And the week after that, it's the new year. And if you haven't signed anyone by then, who knows? Maybe Bregman's off the board. Maybe Marte's been traded. Bo Bichette might be off the board by then. Then what are you going to do? Then what's your offseason? Eugenio Suarez and a platoon at second base? That's definitely not good enough. And then you will hear the narrative of, well, we think Sonny Gray is a number 2, so we didn't feel the need to really explore the pitching market. It's not good enough, and time is running out.
Well, the thing is, if your goal or your plan, which we don't know this to be true, but let's just assume that signing free agents is out the door and everything has to come the trade route. As soon as you let all the pieces come off the board for free agency, you've just basically forced yourself to have to now overpay, in which you're already going to overpay on a trade. But now you're really going to overpay because you have no other option. And the team knows that because you can't sign a free agent that doesn't exist anymore. So if the Red Sox know that their plan is basically to trade for assets, they should have already had this game plan. There should be already things be in motion, like before any of these deals got done. Because it's not like, Schwarber and Alonso came off the board day one. It took about a week. And it's not shocking. They were the only 2 real power hitters on the free agency market, and they were the first to go, going into what's more than likely going to be a lockout, right? So like that shouldn't shock anyone. You look at Kyle Tucker, projected to get a 10-year contract. Of course, there's no movement there right now with the uncertainty in baseball. There's also questions, according to MLB Network, of whether the guy really has the desire to really put in the work long-term and wants to play, which I think is concerning when you're going to hand it over a 10-year contract to a player. And then you got Bo Bichette, right? And then Alex Bregman. Alex Bregman, not shocking at all, because I didn't think there was going to be this crazy market and it was going to all be smoke and mirrors, which is exactly what it looks like. And the idiot who signs him is going to drastically overpay. But this is all you need to know about Craig Breslow. He has Jarren Duran, who has probably been one of the more tradable assets in MLB for now 3 or 2 seasons, let's just call it. He was a 7-win player 2 years ago, 4-win player. There's questions as to whether his value now is diminished across MLB because of that disparity. However, we saw a tweet yesterday where the outfielder market is heating up and basically the Red Sox are fielding calls left and right for a player like Jarren Duran. And he's still sitting on him. He doesn't even know how to trade him. One of the more tradable assets that if any GM in the MLB had, they would have already unloaded him and filled a need. And we can't. And I'm scared to death we are going. It's almost a foregone conclusion he will be gone. The question is, will it fill a need? Because Craig Breslow is not proven to be able to fill needs with trading assets. He's good at trading them, but I mean, he just basically plugs holes with bigger holes. So who the hell knows what's going to happen with that? But it's just, like you said, Jason, it's getting to a point in level of frustration that I don't even know how to describe it at this point. Like, I don't even know how the Red Sox are going to be able to look their fans in the face at FanFest with all the absolute BS they have spewed. And they just keep, then they wonder why everyone hates them. Like, I don't understand. Why are they throwing vegetables at us on stage? Because you literally just came out and said you were going to spend money. You come out and say dumb things like full throttle a couple of years ago, and there was no gas in the tank, let alone full throttle. So, I mean, at some point, hopefully they wake up. I'm not counting on it. I hope I'm wrong.
Well, for starters, if the winter meetings are over, it's late. Like, it's late at that point. So you got to get moving. And nothing makes sense. Being in on Michael King does not make sense. You're going to spend 20 plus million for I don't know how many years. I think they're just trying to get him on a 1-year prove it deal. But either way, it doesn't make sense. If you're Craig Breslow and you believe Sonny Gray is a good pitcher and you think Johan Oviedo is going to be serviceable, you don't need to be in on Michael King. I mean, you got Crochet and Bayo, you got the two I just mentioned, and you can come up with a fifth starter. You've got tons of number 5 type guys. You've got Connolly Early, maybe Patrick Sandoval, maybe Cutter Crawford. I'm probably forgetting 1 or 2 in there. So nothing at all makes sense. This isn't the work of an executive who knows what he's doing. He's just a warm body in that front office. He's the 11th pick. 10 weren't even willing to have a conversation about the job. What did they know? And I'm surprised it hasn't really leaked out. I'm surprised there's not been like an investigative reporter, a Tom Verducci type guy to talk to everybody from that class that year that said no thank you to Sam Kennedy and kind of leaked it out. And you had Chris Cotillo on his podcast basically say if the Red Sox don't end up with Bregman or a Bregman type guy, there should be a 10-part series on the Devers trade, relitigating all of that. So the incompetence here from John Henry down to Craig Breslow is just, how did we get to this point? How did we get so historically stupid, coming into 2026? I don't know. And the Red Sox are easy targets, and it should be open season on this organization. There's no need to fear the Boston Red Sox. You should be critical. They should be destroyed from all angles. They should be destroyed by their own press corps. And, we led the charge kind of in the Chaim Bloom firing, and we thought that was the turning point, and it wasn't. It got worse. Breslow is worse than Chaim. And
it's worse than we could imagine.
I don't know what else to say.
I think we're seeing that you bring up the 11th choice a lot. And I think we're seeing why he was the 11th choice, but I think we're also seeing why 10 people said no. And, maybe Breslow gets fired and maybe he comes out and says, I tried to sign all these guys and they wouldn't let me. I don't think that is the case, but maybe there's reasons like that why 10 guys would say no in the first place.
It's a fair point. Yeah, you can't leave the owner out of it. It's funny because they just sold the Pittsburgh Penguins today. So that's one less team off of John Henry's portfolio. So I don't know what that means for the Red Sox. I don't know if it means that he's, willing to spend more because he's, made some money off of the Penguins deal. I think they were they were $5 million or something like 500 million to start. And then after he sold them, they were worth 1.7 billion. So he obviously made a profit off of them. So I don't know. Does that mean that he's more willing to spend on the Red Sox? I doubt it. But yeah, you can't leave him out. He's definitely a big part of this. There's a reason why a lot of GMs didn't want to touch this job. They look at John Henry and they go, well, if he's going to handcuff me the whole time, I don't want to do it. So that's always going to be there. That narrative exists for a reason. It's just because it's the truth. It's not a made up thing. It's the reality of, operating with the Boston Red Sox. But yeah, a lot of this does fall on Breslow though. It's his, you hear reports about how awkward he is, how antisocial he is. Like that's a big part of it. As a GM, like when you go to these winter meetings, like you've got to have some, swagger about you. You got to, it's not just good enough to be smartest guy in the room or feel like you're the smartest guy in the room. You've got to have the wherewithal to have these conversations and talk to other GMs in a human way and say, look, I know we got Jaron Duran. I know we talked about it before, but let's see if we can change that deal up a little bit. You got to be able to just, schmooze a little bit, for lack of a better word. Breslow does not give off that vibe at all. Like, he just feels like he's awkward, off-putting. Guys don't really want to chat him up. And that's why he gets locked out of a lot of deals. Because these other GMs are, sitting there cutting it up and, they're making deals behind Breslow's back while he just sits in the corner on his phone. So it's looking real dire right now. And here's what I would say just to, to take us home on this thought. My message to the Red Sox brass, Breslow, ownership, Sam Kennedy would be this. FanFest, as Chris mentioned, 3 weeks from this Saturday. You've got 3 weeks to do something if you don't want to face just an unholy amount of booing, cursing, stuff getting thrown at you. Like, I thought last year's was pretty brutal. Obviously, that was before Bregman. I think the year before that was even worse. This will take the cake. This fan fest coming up in January, if they don't do anything in the next 3 weeks, it's going to be a riot. So my message to them would be, if you want to avoid that, there's a couple of easy things you can do. We've laid it out for you. Sign Bo Bichette, trade for Ketel Marte. Like, you have options. We opened the show by saying the offseason's not over yet, but it's starting to get late. And I agree with Terry. Like, if you haven't done anything and the winter meetings are over, you're officially behind. You are late, you are behind. So, doesn't mean that you can't salvage it, but they've got a lot of work to do to catch up. And we'll see if they're willing and able to. But I think they are able to. It's just, you got to change your philosophy. You got to get going. And that would be my message to them. Just get something done before January 10th. Because if you don't, it's going to be brutal. And you're going to deserve every bit of it. So we'll see. We'll keep waiting. We'll keep seeing if anything drops. Of course, once it does, if the Red Sox actually decide to do anything, we'll be right here. We'll break it all down for you. So keep an eye on your Twitter feeds. Keep an eye on everything else. Until then, everyone enjoy the rest of your night. Enjoy your weekend. And we will talk to you guys all later.